Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for clicking on the video. I'm out here on a hike today to cover the 10 C's of survival and bushcraft. There are numerous variations to the 10 C's of survival and bushcraft. These are just the 10 items that I like to have with me to make me feel comfortable, secure, and safe in almost any environment. To kick things off, I'm going to start with cutting tools. Everybody likes a good saw, axe, and knife, so let's get going. As far as knives go, I like to have two with me at least at all times. You never know if you're batoning wood and your blade snaps, you need a backup. It's good to have two at least. We'll start with my main knife. This is my Mora Companion. I have a couple of these. I like the green one. It's a BPS sheath. I bought this after the fact. I'm not a huge fan of the Mora sheaths. They don't sit right on my hip underneath my pack. I have ground the spine down to a 90 to work with a ferro rod and helps to process tinder. I can scrape the back of a branch and get nice fine fluffy tinder for lighting fires. These are great knives. They're super budget friendly. You're not going to cry if you break it or if you lose it for that matter. And they're just super versatile. The second knife, it's always in my pack, is my Mora Eldris. These things are awesome. Again, they have a 90 spine from factory, so they work with a ferro rod. The grip is amazing. They fit really well in your hand. As my secondary knife, I do tend to baby this one a little bit. I don't baton wood with it. I will process feather sticks, maybe get some tinder with it, but it's mainly for food prep, gutting fish, and whatnot. It's paracord cutter. I really like this knife, and I take really good care of it. I did additionally add an orange lanyard because it is green, so you drop it, it's easy to spot. But overall, this is probably my favorite knife in my kit. It's a dream to work with. This little guy is just my EDC knife. This is always in my pocket. Little folder, cheap folder. I don't even remember where I got it, to be honest, but razor sharp. Beat the hell out of this thing. Not worried about it at all. I've cut cardboard boxes. I've opened packages. You name it, I've done it with this knife. It's just great to have. It doesn't always come with me when I'm out in the bush, but it does find its way into my pocket quite often as I'm just used to packing it all the time. Some people really like Swiss Army knives. I'm not a huge fan of them myself. I don't even own one. And a lot of people pack multi-tools. I can totally see the function of them. Again, I'm not a huge fan of them. I don't need screwdrivers and corkscrews when I'm out. You might. That's totally personal preference. But yeah, those are just things that I don't see myself using, so I don't have yet. I might pick one up in the future. You never know. The axe is a super versatile tool. I pack this with me on almost every bushcraft camp. I meticulously maintain this thing. It's razor sharp. It's great for hammering in stakes, processing firewood, and just it feels good to have an axe out with you. I sometimes wish I had a smaller one. It's a lot of work to lug this big guy around, but this axe has served me really well. Next up, I'd like to discuss the saws. A lot of people like Silky, a lot of people like the Agawa. People prefer buck over folding. Depending on the trip I'm going on, depending on location, things vary. My little folder's just a little Coglins. It locks in place. Blade's a little flimsy. I've processed a lot of wood with this. The saw itself is 14 bucks and the blades are 7 to replace. For the packability and the weight of this is a great saw to have in a pack. Next up, my Boreal 24 by Agawa. This is a big saw. It works so good. I love the fact you don't have to touch the blade unfolding it at all. Just clips into place. I can cut 8-9 inch logs with this, no problem. I've built my fort with this. This thing has served me so well. The original blade still, razor sharp. If I'm going on shorter trips or I know I'm going to be processing a lot of wood, this is the saw I take over the folder. I actually prefer this saw, except it is a little clunky. It's a little large. It doesn't actually weigh all that much, but it does have to go on the outside of the pack. But yeah, I do typically take this one with me just because it works so well. And a little novelty item that I just picked up. I'm yet to use it. I tested it at home once, but is 1-inch Scotch eye auger. I haven't had the pleasure of using it yet. I do plan on building some camp furniture in the future, and yeah, just doing some crafts with it. I'm sure I'll make a video of that when it comes time. Doesn't weigh very much, and it was super cheap, so I figured why not. I've seen a lot of people use them to great success, so I figured I'd give it a try. I wouldn't necessarily consider this a 10C of survival and bushcraft. It's just more of a novelty, but it does have its purpose and it does seem like a lot of fun. Additionally, I pack a little whetstone. This is just for tool maintenance, sharpening fish hooks. Hell, you could even file your nails with this if you had to. Not necessarily a 10C of survival or bushcraft, but something I do pack with me in the event I need it. So I highly suggest packing 2 knives with you, at least. Some people frown upon that. I prefer it just to have the comfort of knowing I have a second knife and some sort of saw. The axe you can actually live without. These 3 things here can process all the wood you need to get a fire going, to build a shelter, but the axe is definitely convenient. And sharp tools are safe tools. The second of the 10 C's is combustion devices. The first combustion device I'd like to discuss is the ferro rod. Most people pack these. They're really easy to get a fire going with a little bit of practice. You can get a fire going almost anywhere. These work when they're wet. They work when they're cold. They're just a great piece of survival kit. I primarily light all my fires with a ferro rod. I just enjoy it. It's primitive feeling. I don't know. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. I highly suggest the ferro rod as one of your combustion devices. A lot of people frown upon the Bic lighter as a combustion device. I'm a smoker, so I always have one with me. Additionally, you could put an elastic band underneath the red lever so it doesn't actually depress in your pack and waste your fuel. These don't work when they get wet. They do have to dry out. And when they're cold, they're really hard to get going as well. But it's a good backup item to have. A Fresnel lens is another good item to pack. It's real lightweight. It's just a little thin piece of plastic magnifying glass. Super cool item, fits in your wallet, fits in your first aid kit. I don't pack one because my compass has a magnifying glass on it, and I have lit a fire with that to test it. It does work. So the Fresnel lens isn't in my kit, but I do have a magnifying glass to light fires as well. As part of my combustion devices, I carry a tin for making char cloth, and I also carry a fire starting kit. This one's really small. It holds 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fire plugs, and I do have some weatherproof matches in here wrapped in cotton string dipped in paraffin wax. They're great fire starters. In my first aid kit, I also carry weatherproof matches, a mini Bic lighter, and a few spare fire starters. The third C of survival and bushcraft is your cover. This encompasses a wide range of items, from your clothing you wear to the shelter you provide yourself to what you're sleeping in my opinion. So, again, some people might not like the way I view things. Cover to me is your insulation and weatherproofing, a very important aspect of survival and bushcraft. You kind of need those things or you're doomed. For clothing, I wear Vita Pro trousers. These things are just great pants overall. I have a couple pairs. I won't go into huge details on them. They're just pants. They are waxable, so in the colder months, you can actually wax this material, weatherproof it a bit. For footwear, I highly suggest spending the money on a good quality pair of boots. You won't regret it. Your feet won't regret it. Your body will not regret it. Your wallet might, but it's worth the investment. For my boots, I have a pair of Salomon Quest 3s, 4D Gore-Tex. I know a lot of people don't like Gore-Tex. I love it. I personally love Gore-Tex. And I go with a high boot. I have real weak ankles. Some people like trail runners. Some people like mid-height boots. If I wear those, I'm going to roll my ankle. My ankles are really weak. So I need a nice high boot, and these Salomon Quests, no break-in time required, super comfortable. Yeah. Treat your feet well, and you'll have a happy time out in the bush. For my shirt, I primarily wear only this one. It's Mountain Hardwear. Super light, quick drying material, vented pockets, there's vents in the back, a nice collar, long sleeves. I will not wear short sleeves out in the bush. You'll never catch me in a short sleeve shirt. I like the protection this offers, not only from the sun, but it adds warmth with the sleeves. I typically leave them rolled up, but when I roll them down, I know my forearms will be protected. For insulation, I typically wear a fleece, which I left in the car. I was gonna show it to you guys. And I bring along a down puff. Super packable, it's a 600 fill, it's not very warm. But on top of the fleece, this acts as my wind barrier and traps in a lot of heat. I also bring a rain jacket with me, always. This is always in my pack. You never know when a storm blows in, and having a raincoat is a game changer. It can prevent hypothermia just by having it and not getting yourself drenched. As part of my cover, I also bring a pair of mechanics gloves. Great durable gloves. I can grab things out of the fire with them without burning my fingers. If I'm swinging the axe or using the saw a lot, prevents blisters and hot spots. Cheap investment to protect your hands. They're also added insulation to keep your hands warm. I don't know, I won't go out without a pair of gloves in my pack. Now that clothing has been discussed as part of cover, I would like to discuss the tarp behind me. This is a 3 meter by 3 meter tarp. Super versatile. You can string this thing up in so many pitches. You can create a tent with this. They're just great. For a bushcraft survival kit, even just a day hike, if you're going a long distance on that day hike, having a tarp is huge. I personally don't hike without one. I definitely don't camp without one. A tarp is an easy shelter to keep yourself safe, warm, and dry throughout a night if need be. In a wild camp or camping scenario, I always pack a sleeping bag. I prefer down. There's some pros and cons to down. This is a Rabascent 700 minus 12 bag, Celsius. It's a great sleeping bag. The pros to down are it's super lightweight, it's super packable, and the warmth they offer is amazing. The cons to down, if down gets wet, it's toast. It provides very little insulation value. So in the camping scenario, I take that. But on a day hike or just a trek through the woods, I bring an emergency blanket. Just in case the event you're trapped, I always pack an emergency blanket. These things are great. It's reflective on one side. You can signal for help. It's actually the large size, so you can actually make a makeshift lean-to even if needed. So that's it as far as cover goes in my eyes. You can bring tents, you can bring hammocks, you can bring nothing at all and build a debris shelter. There's just so many options, and I didn't want to pack all my gear out here to talk about them all, but to each their own. If you're going to just tarp camp, then tarp camp. If you're going to bring a tent as cover, even on a day hike to have as a backup just in case. Those are all options, and they're all good options. You just got to decide what is best for you. I would highly suggest the space blanket though. These emergency blankets are great, and you should always have one of these in your pack. Next up, your container. This is a crucial item in the 10Cs. For one, it's your hydration. It's what you pack your water in. For two, it's what you eat out of and what you can purify water with. This is a Toke 700 titanium pot with a little folding cup nested on top. I pack this thing with me everywhere along with my Nalgene. Another item I always pack is my Katadyn Be Free. I'm not always near a water source, but I always take my water filter. It weighs nothing, it packs down super small. And if I can, this is how I prefer to filter my water. I will boil if I have to. Not only is your Nalgene a good way to pack water and stay hydrated, you can boil water, add it to these, and throw it inside your sleeping bag with you. Be sure to wrap it in something so you don't burn yourself, but it's a great source of extra heat if needed. As part of my container system, I always pack a way to boil water. This case, this is just my twig stove. I really like it. Shy of it being fire season and I'm not allowed to use it, I primarily pack this. You can bring firebox stoves, Otzi grills, alcohol stoves, DIY alcohol stoves, which I do use. It is part of my 10Cs and survival to have a way to boil water that's not just the fire. Next on the hit list, cordage. I typically pack 100 feet. I have used up my other 50-foot roll. This is 50 feet of fire starting 550 paracord. Stuff is great. One roll of 550 paracord is closer to like 400 feet with the strands included inside of cordage. The inner strands of this can be threaded through a needle. You can repair gear, you can repair your tarp, if you pull off a tie out, you can sew it back on. Paracord is such a versatile tool. It's not only for tying up a shelter. This stuff is just unbelievably strong. You can hang your food in the situation you're in bear country. There's so many uses to paracord, it's unbelievable. And fire starting paracord, this actually has a waxed core strand in it that can take a spark from a ferro rod really well. So it's actually an additional fire starting method in my combustion. For candling, that just basically means you're lighting. You can pack a lantern. Always pack fresh batteries in my lantern. I don't typically bring extra batteries out with me, so I replace my items before I come out. It's a great lightweight lantern, super cheap. I think I got this one from Walmart. Broke the little hanger piece, made a paracord one with a carabiner. I pack an excessive amount of lighting because I'm out filming at night a lot of the times, but I do like having a proper lantern. The UCO candle lantern is an awesome bit of kit, super fun, super convenient. Doesn't provide much light, but it provides enough, and it's a comforting flicker. It kind of gives you the feel of a fire while you're out. I don't know, I really like them. I have a citronella candle in there right now, preparing for spring. The bugs are gonna start coming out. You get about an 8-hour burn out of them, and they're just super fun. I don't carry a pen light or flashlight of any kind. My cell phone serves that purpose. Typically don't use it as a light, but it's there if I need it. For a 10C of survival and bushcraft, these other items, they're fun, they're useful, but the most useful is your headlamp. And if you get a good one, they have so many functions. You got your wide beam, your narrow long range, a red light function for night. This also does a strobe function. You throw it on your head, your hands free. I find these to be the safest, most reliable option. This one's battery powered. Again, I put fresh batteries in before I go, so I know it'll last my trip. If I'm doing an extended trip, that's when I'll pack extras, but I typically don't. Yeah, disregard all the other items. If you're building a 10C kit, throw in a good quality headlamp. Cloth material, another 10C of survival and bushcraft. These things have so many purposes, just your typical bandana. I pack two. I have one in my Tokes kit for pulling it off the fire, wiping out my pot when I'm done. My other one is loose in my pack. This can be used for so many things. You can filter water with this if you're boiling water to sterilize it. Works great for that. Sun protection, you can wrap this around your neck, dip it in cool water, keeps you nice and cool, drape it over your head. Cut this up into slings, bandages. You can even use this as charcloth material in a tin. These things are great, and I always pack two. Cargo tape, a very underlooked, useful item. I have about 10 feet of it wrapped around my bear spray canister, and I have another 10 feet rolled up and stuffed in my first aid kit. Again, this stuff can be used for so many things. It can be used as cordage. You can use it to cover a wound and hold bandages on. Repairing gear. That's probably its most useful aspect. Get a hole in your tarp, slap a piece of duct tape on there, and it's sealed. You're good to go again. So I'd always pack 10 to 20 feet of cargo tape of some sort. Gorilla tape, duct tape, they all work great. Getting down near the end of the 10Cs, but compass is on the list. You've seen this already. It has my magnifying glass, part of my combustion kit as well. But a compass, invaluable item. If you have a compass and you know how to read a map, you will never be lost. That's if you know how. So I highly suggest some practice. Watch some videos, some tutorials, learn how to take a bearing, find your location, and use it to navigate. Very handy. They're not that expensive. They're not heavy. So throw one of these in your kit as a 10C of survival and bushcraft. Along with my compass, I always pack a Garmin GPS Map 66i with InReach. The InReach is key. I have an SOS button. I smash that, I'm getting rescued. Always fully charged when I take it out. It's comfort. I know I'll always be safe if I have this with me. It also has satellite messaging. I can touch base with people. I can let people know I'm safe. I've made it to locations. I'm on my way home. Expensive extremely expensive and a little heavy, but it's worth its weight. I will pack this with me no matter what I'm doing, just for the simple fact that if you're really in dire straits and you need help, you can get it with the simple click of a button. Your canvas needle. These live in my first aid kit. I have two. One's just a little longer, but they're both serve the same purpose. You can thread the inner strands of paracord through these needles. They're large, they're easy to push through things. You can use this to repair your pack, your tarp, your sleeping bags, your clothing, even some sutures. It would hurt, but you could do it if you had to. I pack two. You really only need one, but what if you lose one? They weigh nothing and they sit in my first aid kit, which only gets opened in emergencies anyways. The final item on the 10 C's of survival and bushcraft. I haven't had to use it yet, and I'm thankful for that. But it's there if I need it. And if you need it and you don't have a needle, you're kind of screwed. So throw those in your kit. So these 4 items in front of me, they're not necessarily your 10 C's of survival and bushcraft, but to me, they are. They just don't start with the letter C. These come with me every time. My hygiene kit in a Ziploc bag. It's a roll of toilet paper, a toothbrush, some floss sticks, some biodegradable soap, and a little thing of toothpaste. Goes with me all the time. I wish it started with a C so it could be part of the 10 C's of survival and bushcraft. But you don't necessarily need it. But if you want to be hygienic, very good to have. My SAS survival guide, pocket-sized. It's a great book, great reading material for if you're caught in a storm and you're hunkered down under a tarp and just want something to do. Other than that, it covers edible plants, traps, snares, shelter building, fire starting techniques, how to filter water, SOS call signals, you name it. This book does have it in it, and I always pack it with me. It's bulky and it does have a little weight to it, but it's great. I just love having it with me as reading material. My GPS. I did cover this over my compass. Again, this always comes with me. Not part of the 10 C's of survival necessarily, but super handy, super valuable, and can save you in a bad situation. My bear spray. A lot of people ask why I pack bear spray. It's safety. This isn't just for bears. This is for all dangerous wildlife you could encounter. I'm here in British Columbia, Canada. We have a lot of bears and a lot of cougars. And when I do the backcountry stuff, it's grizzly country. This is strapped to my pack 99% of the time. I don't always take it out in winter since most of the wildlife is pretty scarce. But spring, summer, fall, this is with me on my pack, accessible, in reach, all the time. In all the lists of 10 C's of survival and bushcraft, first aid kit should be on one. It should be the 10 C's and the 1 F. I'm not joking. This, always have a personal first aid kit of some sort with you. I'm not going to open this up and single-handedly go through all the items. It's bulging at the seams. This is really hard to close up once it's opened. This contains all your bandages, your band-aids, your gauze, your medical tapes, you name it. This first aid came with it. Additionally, I added water treatment tabs, a suture kit, a tourniquet, some clotting agent, a pill bottle that contains not only Advil and Tylenol, but anti-diarrheal, some Gas X for indigestion, sting kit. What else did I add in there? I added so much stuff. Signal mirrors, an extra lighter, 10 rounds of 22 ammunition. I typically have a rifle in my car when I'm out. There's also an ice pack, a tensor bandage. There's just all sorts of stuff. I am actually forgetting some things that are in here. I think a small sewing kit. I have jammed this thing with everything that I could possibly need. Well, if you made it through the whole video, those are your 10 C's of bushcraft and survival. I guess not your 10 C's, my 10 C's. I have made some alterations. I've added, subtracted a few things. I have made some alterations to suit my needs better. Your environment's going to be different. Your needs are going to be different. You might prefer some items over some of the items that I have, but that's okay. It's the basic 10 C's of survival and bushcraft, and some things that you should always pack with you. I'd really appreciate some comments. Let me know what you guys think, what you do differently, things that I don't have that you carry. It might intrigue me to rethink my kit and go over some things. You never know. This is just an informative video to give you the basics of the 10 C's of survival and bushcraft.